Hi, and welcome to the full moon of Aquarius follow-up teachings from Allie's full moon call of last week that was on the group in Wakeful Dreamers within the network of Mystic and the Monk. So welcome and thanks for joining me. And so let's go ahead. Let's start off by just closing our eyes. Let's kind of relax into our position, relax into our space. I always like to start off with three really good breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And let's just start to calm the body so we can start the mind for expanding. Just really just settle into your heart. It's where our mind resides. And really start feeling and living here, relaxing into an open mind, a calm mind, a peaceful mind. This mind of ours that have this unlimited potential and expansiveness. It's expanses as the sky. And let's just settle in. Nice quiet space. A nice open mind for the next 45 minutes or so as we explore a few interesting topics. And as you know from last week's call, it's all about karma, right? And a lot of the karma that arises, a lot of our past karma or future karma or present karma, whatever karma is arising, our experience with it. And what I want to talk about tonight is really what are some practical ways of dealing with our karma, right? How do we have these moments and experiences and how we can meet them? And by meeting these experiences and moments and feelings, how we can um, make them a really happy, joyful time, no matter what is arising, right? How do we meet these moments with a joyful mind, or if the mind that arises is more anxious or sad or jealous or prideful? How do we transform those minds or those adverse conditions into more of a peaceful, calm, happy mind? And one of the ways that we can do that is by meeting every moment, every feeling with a contemplation, right? Meeting every moment, every feeling with a contemplation, right? Contemplation is something that we spent some time on and we contemplated. Like last week, we did this beautiful meditation of taking and giving, where we took on the suffering of others and we gave with compassion and we gave love. And that's a contemplation. So when something arises, we can meet it with this contemplations that we're familiar with. But how does that happen naturally? Right? How do we start to be able to stop reacting to different situations and start meeting these moments with these beautiful contemplations? Well, simply it's through meditation. The more that you meditate, and meditation can be a formal meditation, of course, on your cushion and sitting in a quiet place and maybe in front of a shrine and contemplating. And one of the things that I invite everyone to do is, hopefully, if you're not having a regular practice, but and I invite you to start 5 minutes a day, a simple breathing meditation for 5 minutes, just to sit down, quiet the still the body, quiet the mind, and do a breathing meditation, 5, 7 minutes. You see, meditation, it's not about how long we go. right? It's about consistently having a practice. Eh, How do you boil water, right? If I turn the fire up on the stove and then turn it down and turn it way up and turn it down and way up, it'll never boil. But if you have a nice, consistent, steady flame, that water will start to boil. How do we meet every moment with a contemplation, with a mind of wisdom? We meditate on it. And if it is in contemplation on your cushion, wonderful. But it could be when you wake up in the morning, think about whatever you're contemplating, right? Whatever we've been sharing on all of these different full moons and new moons and all these different meditations. Take one and spend some time with it, right? Spend a little time, get familiar with it. If you're taking a walk and you're looking at the clouds, think about the contemplation. If you're driving to work, turn the radio off. Think about the contemplation. Get the contemplation driven into your heart to where it starts to naturally arise. Because right now, what's happening is we're having feelings arising all the time. All the time. There's thoughts, there's feelings, there's the right there, there's a physicality to it when a feeling arises. And if we start to understand how our mind operates, and I'm not talking about the brain, and people who have been part of my courses for all these years understand that the brain is not what I'm referring to when I'm referring to the mind. The mind resides here. It's odorless, it's colorless, it's tasteless. Some traditions call it a soul, right? Or just our continuum, our mental continuum, this mind of ours, this conscious that we have that's actually leading us and driving us. We want to start becoming more in control of it, right? And we want to drive into it different virtuous contemplations. And right now, all these feelings are arising from our previous karma, right? And our previous karma could be something that happened 5 minutes ago, right? It could be something that happened hours ago. It could be something that happened a couple of years ago. It could be something that happened multiple lifetimes ago. So whatever arises, we don't have to start worrying about where it came from. Now, with Allie's work, it's wonderful. She'll dig in and figure out a lot of this, what it came from, so you can have a practical understanding of it. But in essence, it doesn't really truly matter, because within our karma, if we understand that we have lived, and if this is a new understanding for you, let's just be open to it, because it's not whether we believe in any of this mystical stuff that we can't prove or not. It's whether we're going to start practicing some things that could be very beneficial to your happiness and your calm and your peacefulness and your harmony today. And one of those things are that we've had multiple rebirths, right? If we've lived millions of years previously, we could just have a thought out, can we prove it? I can't. Allie's different. Allie can see those different realms. She can understand those different experiences. But for me and for most of us, they're just things that we may or may not believe. But if we can just have an understanding that maybe we have lived these multiple lifetimes. And if I have, then I can go one step further and realize that I probably have done everything. I was kings and queens and gods and demigods and hell beings, and I was probably a murderer and a cheat and a liar and a gossiper and prideful and jealous, and I've done it all. So if I've done it all, then I can realize that whatever starts arising, these feelings that arise, and what a feeling truly is, a feeling is if, not is, but a feeling functions for me to experience my previous actions. So a feeling arises so I can experience my previous karma. So if I have the notion, if I have the thought that I've done it all, then everything arises is my responsibility to now handle. That everything arises is arising for me to experience my previous karma, whether it was a minute ago or or 1,000,000 lifetimes ago. It is arising for me to experience. So what we deeply start looking at our karma, and we understand that this new moon, there's a lot of previous karma coming up. So if we can accept this with acceptance, we can wholeheartedly accept what is arising as my previous karma, then I don't ask why. And if I can accept this feelings as my previous karma, not only do I not ask why, but then I don't blame. I don't get angry. I don't start feeling attachment to certain things, right? I don't get anxiety typically because I'm accepting wholeheartedly what arises. And that's one thing I want to bring up tonight that I haven't shared previously on this network is something called patient acceptance. And this is a contemplation. When I tell you what patient acceptance means, this is a contemplation that will change your reality. If you drive this one into the heart and you can really feel it and live it, this patient acceptance will change the way you see things, the way you hear things, the way things taste, the way all phenomena arises. Because it's complete acceptance of every feeling that arises, knowing that that feeling that arises is functioning for me to experience my previous karma, and how I handle that feeling that arises dictates my next moments, my next future karma that will arise. So if I start handling every moment with patient acceptance, with an acceptance of knowing that's my responsibility of something I've done in the past, not to get upset about it, not to get angry about it, not to get anxious about it, right? Not the me syndrome, not to blame, but accept it because it's only arising because I've done it in the past. Then we can exhaust it. We can eliminate that karma so it doesn't rise again, right? And I introduced something to contemplate last week. And what I had introduced last week was the understanding, and I hope you've spent some time really contemplating this, was the understanding that all of my suffering, all of my pain, all of my anxiety, all of my depression, all of my negative karma, all of my suffering comes from my negative karma. All of my suffering comes from my negative karma. It comes from my previous. It's not the person who cut me off in the highway, right? It's not the person who stole my parking space when I was sitting waiting for that parking space, right? You know, I was recently in the grocery store here on the island, and it's small, and gets kind of crowded this time of year. I was standing in the grocery store line, wasn't paying much attention, but they're really short. They're long lines, but they're a short distance between the aisles and the cash register. And I'm standing there, and here comes a couple kids, and not paying much attention, surprised, and they cut right in front of me. Right now, at first, my mind reacted. Hey, I wanted to call out. Guys, what are you doing? Right? But I checked my mind. I caught it, and I thought for a second. Wait a minute. Right? Should I demonstrate patience acceptance here? Should I accept that this is my karma? God knows I've definitely cut people off or butted in line in my day, even in this lifetime. Do I accept that as my karma arising, right? And show patience? Or do I say something, right? Because it's always okay if we check your mind, and if it's a happy mind, we can always do things about a certain situation. We're not doormats. We can always intervene and say something happily, peacefully, joyfully, without anger. But I checked my mind, and then I thought of patient acceptance. So what I did was I met that moment with a contemplation. And I hope you write this down, this definition of patient acceptance. I hope you spend a lot of time, because you can just practice this one contemplation and will change your life wholeheartedly. And the definition of patient acceptance is wholeheartedly accepting whatever arises and giving up the wish to want things other than they are. And that's the most important part. But wholeheartedly accept whatever arises, right? Wholeheartedly. If you're sitting at home and your kids come home or relatives come over and you say, welcome, come on in, right? The door's open. You wholeheartedly accept them. Wholeheartedly accept them. Wholeheartedly accept whatever arises, whatever feeling arises, whatever phenomena arises, whatever you hear, you see, you taste, you smell, whatever you wholeheartedly accept. And the most important part is you give up the wish to want things other than they are. We give up the wish to want to try to change it, right? We accept the way things rise. It wasn't a big enough issue for me to say anything. I could be patient because I can accept that those kids were my spiritual guide. So I can practice patience. I can practice loving kindness, right? I had nowhere to go. I wasn't in a rush. Everything was fine. My mind didn't have to make it more than what it was. And that's what our minds want to do. But how did I at least get, my mind wasn't there, like I said at first, for that first second, but how did I get my mind there to at least rise moments later before I embarrassed myself any further? Through contemplation. And that's what it means by meeting every moment with contemplation. Meeting the moments with contemplation. When that feeling arises, right? How dare them, right? That first feeling, right? Wanting to, how dare them cut in front of me, right? That's our feelings, that's our thoughts, right? We all go there, right? But how can we arise the mind that can develop patient acceptance? Now, I thought they were hurting some other people, and I thought that the situation was out of hand in a way that was damaging and harmful, then I will say something, right? So we can always do things to help the situation, but check the mind first, right? Check your mind. Think about a situation and then meet it with a contemplation. Because this month, you'll notice there's a lot of feelings arising. This month is a lot of sensitivity arising. And what are you meeting that sensitivity with? Reactions. And I know myself, been a lot of reactions. I felt a lot of the sensitivity arising, right? I have had moments quite a bit for myself that I walked away with knowing that I reacted not with patient acceptance, right? I know how sensitive I have felt, right? And I've been practicing this stuff for years and years, but I know most of the time I can find my way through it and find that patient acceptance when it's feeling overwhelming, or when it's gotten to the point where that not only do I want to push it away and I'm uncomfortable, but it's gotten to the point where I'm blaming, or it's gotten to the point, because after blame comes anger, right? So how quickly in that path, that feeling, that wanting to push away, that grasping on it, that blaming, that anger, how quickly and where on that path can you meet it with a contemplation? But what helps drive that into the heart is the meditation. Be able to understand and memorize some of these contemplations, right? That all of this beautiful karma, and that's how I really like to refer to karma, not negative and positive, but beautiful karma. And, when we start to talk about beautiful karma, think about that experience now. when we talk about good karma, bad karma, negative karma, positive karma, there's a different experience in it when relating to it as beautiful karma. So when all our suffering is created from our karma, of all of our beautiful karma, right? And all this beautiful karma of ours has been arisen from our self cherishing or self grasping on this I of ours. And hopefully in near future and future lessons, we're going to really kind of dig into this grasping, this ego of ours, and what we're doing with it, and how important it is, and how we can start transforming that. But at first, we just want to really dig in now just about the karma aspect and the feelings that arise, and start needing a contemplation, right? And maybe your contemplation is a mantra, right? I mean, I don't know how many times a day I'm doing the compassion mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum. I mean, consistently, all the times. One of the most famous mantras, right? And the feeling that arises from that, how I can insert that in my mind at any moment, right? What mantras have you memorized that you can bring in at any time? Or maybe it's a breath, right? A breathing meditation is a contemplation. It's powerful to breathe. It's powerful to breathe in meditation. It's powerful to dig in deeply. I had just read somewhere really interesting about breathing meditation where, we all know if we're doing breathing meditation, how important it is to really belly breathe, really get that breath deeply. And one of the things that I didn't realize, how it's so, it's refreshing and rewarding, and it's just delicious to really breathe from that belly. And didn't realize that, when we were in the womb, that's where our breath came from. That's where our nutrients came from, the umbilical cord. And when that umbilical cord was cut, we've lost a lot of that. And we slowly and slowly through our lives, we breathe more and more shallow. And the more we can go deeper down into that belly, the more rewarding our breath meditations become. So speaking of that, let's go ahead and go into a meditation. So find a nice comfortable position. Close your eyes or just let a little bit of light come in through underneath the eyelids. I like to have my shoulders back, have my heart out and exposed and open. Take 3 really good breaths in through the nose, out through your mouth. And this really lets you relax into your posture, into your space. Let's just start feeling the body relaxing. We can start scanning from the top of our head and slowly moving down. Our eyelids start to get heavy. Our ears are drooping. Have a nice soft jaw. Separate your bottom and top teeth. Just relax your face, back of your head. Your neck starts to soften and relax. Shoulders are back and there's just no tension. Your breath is nice and steady. Nice natural rhythm of your breath. And start to notice your breath at the level of your heart. Let's just drop out of the head and let's start living at the heart. Shoulders are back, your chest is smooth and soft. No tension in the back. Your hands are rested in your lap. Let your hands just be really heavy, settled in. And all those little muscles that wrap around your fingers, you can just one by one, you can start feeling them relaxing. Your thighs, your calves, you're just really nice and rooted solidly into the ground. With a nice calm body, the mind starts to settle in, starts to relax. Becomes peaceful. And then we can really start watching our breath just at the tip of our nose. And we can feel the little bit of the cold breath as it passes up through the nostrils. And then we notice with every exhale, it's a little bit warmer. The air that passes through, it's a little bit warmer as it goes out. And let's just spend just a couple minutes feeling the air coming into the nostrils and then exiting the nostrils. In this nice, calm, peaceful position, with our mind rested at the level of our heart. We can contemplate patience, acceptance. I'm going to meet whatever feeling arises, whatever situation arises, whatever phenomena arises. I want to meet it with patient acceptance. I want to wholeheartedly accept whatever arises. Wholeheartedly accept whatever arises. And then give up the wish to want it other than it is. Just accept and allow. Whatever previous karma arises. And I'm going to practice thinking, contemplating, that every feeling arises, functions for me to experience my previous karma. Wow. Every feeling arises to function for me to experience my previous karma. How could I ever become upset again? Well, how could I ever ask why is something happening? And then I can meet that moment, accepting whatever arises, and then not wanting to change it, allowing it to be. So put yourself in a situation that occurred recently, like someone butting in front of you in a grocery store line, or taking your parking spot, or saying something to you, whatever situation, feel your feeling at that moment. Put yourself in that situation. What did it feel like? Recall that feeling. And now let's change that timeline by inserting this contemplation. Let's meet that feeling with the contemplation of patient acceptance. Knowing that feeling that arose functioned for me to experience, that had this beautiful experience of my past karma. So I can meet it calmly, wholeheartedly, and accept it. So I exalt it from my continuum. I no longer have to experience that karma again if I handle it with patient acceptance. If I handle it poorly, it'll repeat in my future. It'll arise again. So put yourself in that situation and change the timeline. Let's delete the old way we handled it. And let's insert this contemplation. Now let's really contemplate now that feeling that arises when we met it head on with patient acceptance, wholeheartedly accepting it and not wanting to change it. What does that feel like? Peaceful? Balanced? Strength? Harmony? Love? Feel those feelings that arise by checking your mind and inserting and meeting that feeling, that moment, that phenomena with this contemplation. What does that feel like? Mm. Yeah, to really rejoice in this feeling of bliss, utter bliss. Let's spend a few moments with that mind. Let's drive it into the heart so that arises in those next situations that occur. And the more we put ourselves in this position, the more we can manifest in our lives. So when you're ready, you can relax your concentration. But yet, let's have this thought to be able to recall these feelings for all moments that arise in the future. And when you're ready, please open your eyes. So have you ever sat still or gone into a meditation and next thing you know, you had an itch, right? And what we want to do is we want to scratch, right? It's a moment we're not liking. It's a moment we don't want. So we want to get rid of it. We want to react to it. We want to scratch it. But in essence, if you can just let it be, allow it, wholeheartedly accept that sensation, and giving up the wish to want it to change it. So you allow it to exist. You don't scratch it, and you'll notice what happens every time. That itch will increase in intensity and then fade away. And you accepted it with patient acceptance. You wholeheartedly accepted it, and it increased for a moment, and then it faded because everything is impermanent. That every moment, every phenomenon, every situation will rise and fall. It's impermanent. And you see, life is really interesting because we think things are fixed and firm and permanent. We really do. And that's why we're always trying to change it. But if you allow a lot of things to occur and happen, like our previous karma arising, and this is the month for all this karma arising, this is the month that it's so sensitive. But if we can really dig deep and allow it to arise and wholeheartedly accept it and give that wish up to want to change it, we'll find and experience just like that itch. It may rise in intensity, but it's going to disappear and dissolve away. See, in life, things stay the same enough to give the appearance that they're staying the same. But in reality, everything is moving from moment to moment. My body from one second to the next is different, right? I do a lot of diving on the island. The ocean that I went in yesterday to dive in and got out and went back in for my second dive was very different. The ocean is different than the first dive. Everything changes from moment to moment. The person you may just had an argument with, walked away from and came back, how can you still be mad at that person when that person has already changed, right? But we think they stay the same, right? This table that I'm sitting in front of, right? I think it's fixed and firm. That's what my reality is trying to tell me, but it's an illusion. This table is actually vibrating and moving. We know that scientifically, on a molecular level. We know it's changing. But it gives the appearance that things are fixed and firm. So if everything is impermanent and everything is arising from because of my previous karma, what is there really to get angry about? What is there really to be anxious about? What is there really to be depressed about? Or have jealousy or pride or, want to stand on ceremony. This is the way it is because this is the truth. This is my truth. And that's mine. Me, mine, and I, right? We go down these paths that just create more of the same suffering. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm really sick of the suffering that I create in my life and still creating, right? I'm disgusted with my behavior most of the time, right? I want to change it. I want to transform it. I want to take these adverse conditions and move it into something more loving and peaceful and compassionate and kind. Real loving and kindness. But how do you do it? Needed with contemplation. And whether we believe in past lives or not is not the issue here. The issue is what is more beneficial to live your life today? If you're living with fears and anxieties, What is more beneficial to maybe to practice something that maybe this feeling is functioning because of my previous actions? Or it was the people in front of me who cut me off in the grocery store that's causing my pain. It was them. If they didn't do that, I wouldn't be suffering. And if they didn't say what they said, I wouldn't have gotten angry, right? What is more beneficial? Because people think, a lot of people think that the mind of compassion and the mind of loving kindness, the mind of patience, the mind of patient acceptance is a passive mind. But that's so wrong. It's easy and takes zero energy to react to the people who cut me off in line. That's easy. Come on, I can get angry on a flip of a dime. Are you kidding? I can react quickly. We all can. That's easy. What takes strength, courage, and an active mind is patience. It's a strong mind to meet our previous karma, those feelings, with patient acceptance. It's a mind that's practice to get familiarized with that feeling so it rises naturally in my heart. Now, of course, we have to fake it till we make it. So I have to think about these things. I have to check my mind. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. I should be practicing patient acceptance. So maybe next time I'll practice it. Or I didn't say anything. I caught myself before I reacted to it. And then I think about patient acceptance, even though that feeling arose. Oh, that feeling I wanted to, oh, how dare you do that or say that? The mind of patient acceptance is an active, strong, solid, contemplated mind, a concentrated mind. And understand that concentration is peace. Concentration, a concentrated mind is peaceful. A mind that's constantly leading you or is distracted or is reactive is not peaceful. A mind that is running rapid with thought is not peaceful. We all know those feelings of being in a rabbit hole or getting stuck in that trauma loop and over and over again. We all know that. We know those feelings. That's not peaceful mind, but a concentrated mind, a mind that meets every moment with a contemplation, or at least starts to meet more moments than not. Right? Great exercise in the morning when you wake up, before you put your feet on the floor, think about patient acceptance, wholeheartedly wholeheartedly accepting whatever arises and giving up the wish to want it other than it is. Think about it, right? And think about how many times you're going to meet every moment and every feeling with that contemplation, right? And maybe keep score during the day, make it a little game, right? Give yourself a good check when you did it, and give yourself an X when you didn't. And then before you lift your feet up off the bed at night to go to sleep, check out how many X's and checks you have, right? Check it. See how many times, and then watch through that little type of exercise how many more times you're meeting your previous karma that's very sensitive this month with the contemplation, of patience. And also feel that feeling, because it is a strong, concentrated mind. And the more that you bring that contemplation to the forefront, the more that you bring this feeling of patience, acceptance, the more you become that, the happier you will become. Don't believe me? Practice it. Practice it. Give it a shot. As I've seen it over the years function over and over and over again. I know within my own mind it functions, right? And the more that we can meet every moment with the contemplation, the more our mind will become concentrated, the way more calmer we'll become, the way more peaceful we'll become, and the happier we will become. And also, those moments, those feelings, that's when the true manifestation in life starts to occur. If I want to start manifesting for myself and others, it's at that place that the world and the reality really opens up to us for us to move and create our own reality. So thank you. My wish is that you've heard something meaningful today. My wish is that you will hopefully put some of this into practice, and that it brings you peace and harmony. So thank you very much, and hopefully we'll see you next time.